Hi, my name is Ruben Tognetti and I create multimedia content for European research and innovation projects. During events, we record our podcast show to give you more insights about these projects. In this episode, we'll bring you inside the Open Source Community Day 2025, an event organized by the Eclipse Foundation and the CEI-Sphere project. This event took place during the AIOTI Days conference in Madrid in September 2025. In this 20-minute show, you will find 5 experts from across Europe to discuss how open source can strengthen our digital future. This group also features major initiatives like the CEI-Sphere project that I already mentioned, and also the CESAR project. These 2 projects support other projects working on cloud and edge infrastructure. Together with them, we explore why collaboration matters and how to avoid fragmented solutions. Another key topic that we discussed related to the CEI-Sphere project was the hourglass model. For a better understanding of this model, try to think of it like the internet. No matter what app you use on top or what network runs underneath, everything connects on a common layer. The hourglass model applies the same idea to Europe's digital technologies so that these can fit together instead of staying apart. Another important point that we discussed was how open source can bridge between research and industry, ensuring that Europe builds not only innovative projects, but also sustainable communities. So let's get started and enjoy the show. Welcome to Policy Pub.
This is basically our show where we talk about topics such as research, innovation and technology, passionate events, and today I'm very glad to have here during the AIOTI Days this guest from the specific events organized by CEI-Sphere and
Eclipse Foundation.
Together with me I have Rosario Rossini from Eclipse.
Yes.
She's one of the main organizers. Galbo, you have to, sorry.
Fur Abdullahian.
Yeah.
It's difficult, no worries.
Okay, from IDC. Representing CESAR project and the CEI-Sphere project. We have Davide Remon from Eclipse Foundation and Claudio De Maio from Gradient and Antonio Kuhn from Treon. Okay, so I'll start by asking you, first of all, how was the day?
The day was good, but I'm the organizer, so I cannot say differently.
These are it's been the AIOTI Days yesterday and today. I'm not sure if I mentioned that actually this was
Co-located event,
co-located
yes.
event. So maybe if you want to say more about...
Yes, actually in this AIOTI Days event, we had our co-located event, that is an open source community day. The idea of this day is exactly that, so having networking, starting networking, sharing knowledge about open source, because the main topic is open source here.
Okay. Let's go with Galbo. She's from IDC, but she's here representing the CESAR project and the CEI-Sphere project. And maybe you can tell us like a few words what these 2 projects are about.
Yeah, today I was here. I mean, IDC is involved in both projects, CESAR and CEI-Sphere. Today I was here with the head of CESAR. Antonio has been here with the head of CEI-Sphere with our class model, so I think he will explain more about that. First of all, maybe it's good that I get one step back, because when I contacted the IPSI-CIS projects for this panel, because this was something that they didn't know before, you know. So I just contacted them and said, look, there is this panel and I think that it's a good opportunity for you because there are research projects in the European landscape that they work on open source. You guys in IPSI-CIS, you are working in your own world of the open source or cloud edge infrastructure. So why not organizing a panel, just sharing what you do and listening to what they do, and then perhaps find some synergies to move forward. And they were really happy to do that. So really, it was something that I said, yes, why not? I mean, we are interested to understand what's happening, because this is not so visible, even within the landscape of the European projects. It's not that easy that everyone is talking to the other person and they understand that what they are doing. So many things are happening in parallel, and this sort of events really help to understand what's happening. So now, coming back to this event, I think that this has been really interesting because from CESAR perspective, we try to provide support to IPSI-CIS projects. There are more than 110 projects.
I was going to ask you more about this later, but if you want to start.
Yes, there are more than 110 projects. So IPSI-CIS is an initiative which is funded by the member states directly through more than 110 projects for a sovereign European cloud edge infrastructure and services. These projects are hugely represented by the industrial stakeholders. So this is very important, meaning that principal European industrial players come together in a room and work together for some years in order to produce something which is relevant for all Europe and can be used by many companies. So at Cicero, we try to provide support to them, to give visibility to them, to develop a roadmap for them to understand that what will be the future of the market, so for their exploitation and go-to-market strategy, and also for their governance. There is a very big focus on open source recently in IPSI-CIS, because IPSI-CIS has 4 work streams, but currently there has been a transversal working group on open source. So open source has been really a huge topic for that. And so that's why I think they were very happy to come here and share what they have done during their projects.
Okay, thank you very much. You already anticipate me. Maybe I will ask you like something more in details later. Please, David, your colleague Philippe Cliff this afternoon gave a presentation about the impact of open source. First of all, if you want to tell us more about Eclipse, a few words, and then if maybe we can listen from you the importance of building an open source community.
Sure. So the Eclipse Foundation is an open source foundation, very appropriate for the date here. Our main goal is to have projects and to serve our projects and our members and to serve the community, because for us, that's a most important topic. I'm working with Philippe and with Rosaria in the research team. So that's what we try to do, but from our area. So we are in a small department and we do research projects. And in these research projects, we are trying to have the sustainability of the projects. So normally it can happen that you have funds, and when the funds finish, the project can finish. To avoid that, so we build a community. We need a community around the project, because in the project you develop some code, some solution, some framework, and we try to have a community working in the code and maintaining it afterwards. So an open source foundation or open source in general in these projects can act as the glue. You know, this gap between the researchers and the industry, it's very difficult to put the solution. So with an open source implementation and a reference implementation, you can like build the bridge thanks to the community to commercialize the solutions that you are building in the project for the industry.
Thank you very much. I see Claudio is agreeing because probably he wants to tell us a little bit more about this aspect.
Yeah, no, it's actually very much aligned, your perspective with mine, because I come a bit from the same context. I wear the hat also of a foundation, of a tech foundation. It's a big RTO, let's say. It's probably a bit bigger, around 300 people. We work in several fields of deep tech, also the cloud ecosystem among all. So in a way, we're also, let's say, in between the research and the market deployment of a certain product. So we are also trying to bridge this gap. Obviously, as a foundation, not primarily focused on open source, but on several solutions, open source is a big advantage for us because it gives us the chance to, let's say, be competitive, to build upon work that is already out there, and to, to improve our work and to, stay a bit in the game. No? Let's say we're pretty much aligned with, what Eclipse does, but also with what the European Commission, in a way, dictates the idea of trying to bolster European competitiveness to different channels by, joining sort of the struggle of, bringing Europe forward in this sense. So wearing the hat of a foundation as well, I should say that, I'm very much aligned. So in that sense, no problem there. What I do see, I see sort of a discrepancy, let's say, between this discussion that you have at, in the tech world of European at policy level, but also tech level. And I see it also transversely through different fora, because I'm not only in the cloud world, I follow different European fora for Gradient, and I see this in 6G, I see this in Quantum already with specification. European is very strong also in interoperability, and in imposing like big standardization, and then Antonio is going to tell us more, obviously, frameworks. But I think there is also, if I look instead at the cloud adoption in the open source, the open source adoption solutions for cloud in the European context, obviously there is a bit of nowadays a cultural shift needed at the private level between, and shift and lift approach, which is more or less what we see, that you have IT system you deploy it at cloud level, duplicating efforts to some extent with, what would be the ideal world, which is a cloud native ecosystem, and pay as you need, solution. So this is a bit, I think the shift, maybe through standards, where's the vote matter, maybe through standards we can bridge some of these gaps, no?
Maybe can I add something to
Sure.
what Claudia said? Because you were talking about the adoption to the market. IDC business is just doing market analysis, market intelligence. So one thing is that in the recent survey that we did about the open source, and it was a message that was also communicated today, was that open source is not anymore mainly for cost reduction, but more than in the latest survey that IDC did, more than 1/3 of the respondents said that they benefit from the collaboration. So it's not, so just what I wanted to emphasize was what you were saying, that the market is going towards that direction. It needs some time, but I think that it's going toward that direction.
Yeah, I think you agree on
Just with facts.
I guess.
Oh, but yet the world is complex, and we need to understand what's going on. We need to understand the ecosystems. So we came up, CEI-Sphere came up with this hourglass model, which will help stakeholders to understand each other and to find opportunities, okay? The hourglass model was actually already used in the past, and in particular to depict the internet growth, where the narrow layer is IP. On top, you have all the applications on top of IP. Below, you have all the networking technology, okay? And internet is a success. We want to create other kind of success using this and understand each other, okay? So in a nutshell, the hourglass model, first of all, highlights the stakeholders, which is actually the demand side, and then put in front of them the capabilities or the building blocks that we want to put on the market. And we have to have this open, okay? Once you have done that, then, as you said, we will have standards, because otherwise, how can the building blocks get together? So we need standards, okay? And then how to make it available, that's open source, okay? So the idea of CEI-Sphere is to put all those things together, that actually stakeholders, building blocks capabilities, then interoperability and standards, and then the open source, okay? And we already had a presentation on Monday showing actually the building blocks. And tomorrow we switch to the open source, which is the end of the link, okay? So once I have done that, actually what is very important, okay, is that it fosters reusability. We have in one visual aid, you can show to the manager, the business guys, to the developer, and they see a fit, okay? They see that something's happening, okay? This is quite important. So we have first of all this. The second thing is you allow also to create, to identify the dependencies between open source. I'll give you an example. So we have open source for data space. We have open source for CI. They have to get together. So you have a dependency. And if we discuss together and we position the two building blocks in the hourglass model, we understand right away that we better work together, okay? That's it. Okay.
Golbo, I want to go back to you. If you maybe can give us you said before, you promote open source. Maybe if you can give us maybe some examples.
How we promote.
Through Cicero, especially.
Through Cicero, yeah.
Yes.
So there are basically 4 main dimensions that we try to use those pillars to promote and support IPSAI-CI's project. So first of all is a collaborative platform. As I said, it's a huge community, and even interaction in that community is not that straightforward and easy. So Cicero tries to establish a collaborative platform to share the knowledge, lesson learned, results, everything among the stakeholders in IPSAI-CIS. Then we don't want to limit it only to IPSAI-CIS. We want to extend it to the other parts of the European initiatives. So that's why we are here today. That's another part. So to talk with other European initiatives, with the EU-funded projects in order to find synergies and work together with IPSAI projects. Then another main important element of Cicero is a roadmap. So that roadmap basically tries to support IPSI projects for their go-to-market, mapping the main technical elements of the IPSI projects and non-technical elements. We try to understand how is the demand market in terms of those elements and how the IPSI projects cover those technical and non-technical elements and where are the gaps. And so what can be the action and what are the actions that can address those gaps? So the roadmap, which is now in progress, so I think that the first version of the roadmap will be out by end of February next year. And then the final one in 2026 tries to support them for their go-to-market. And finally, support for the governance. Because as again, you know, hundreds of companies come together and it's not easy to make a sort of governance framework that they interact together and they work together and they deploy solutions together. So also CISARO tries to provide this support in terms of the governance to them.
Okay, thank you very much. I have only one last question for you, Rosaria.
Sure.
Give like just a few words the importance of these kinds of events and of course, again, why building open source school is so important.
Yes, and I think that I can reuse everything we said now for explaining why this kind of events are important and why we need to be there and not just skip some of these events. As been just mentioned by Golbo, we need to gather people for making them working together. And this is one side. The other side is the adoption of a standard, the adoption of the same process, the adoption of something that you can build together. And building is not easy, as has been mentioned and highlighted more than once here. It's not easy to work with people. It's not easy to work with another person. So we need governance, we need process, but it's also good to know each other. Know each other means not that you have to know everyone, but you have to know your community. And your community has rules, your community has governance. And this is why it's important that you start building that. You start building, let's say, a kind of relationship. You start building what does it mean having a community. Why the community is important, but how you can behave in a community. This is not something straightforward. It's not like you are trashing it something and that's it, you are just push that, not trashing, but pushing. And you say, okay, that's mine. No, because maybe Golbo wants to use it or Antonio wants to use it. And that's where our glass model, for example, came.
If I can add, okay, we want to avoid siloed, we want to avoid fragmentation. Yes. If we don't get together, we just create them. So first of all, we get together just to avoid this. And then when we have avoided the silo, we find synergies. That's it. So this kind of meeting allows us to find the synergies, to get together and say, yeah, we can have this opportunity.
Yes, and build a community. That will be the second step, of course, because I am a community builder and that will be my objective. But events, when you share, are important because you need to share and you need to know what the other are doing. It's not one way.
One thing maybe just to discuss with you mostly, but if you want to also chime in, you can. One thing, I mean, the Glassdoor approach is really interesting, I think, as working for an RTO that touches on different topics, no? Okay, so we work with data spaces, we're building our own data space. We have, we work with cloud integrations, 5G, photonics, many things, robotics, photonics integration stuff. So it's probably really useful, would be probably useful for us to converge, in a framework that where different, for example, areas can talk to each other, no? Because we also work on projects where, we do more than one thing, for example, and we integrate the solution for communication with quantum and 5G. And I mean, obviously with open science, you can disseminate this model and, but more about the sustainability, it's kind of like interviewing you.
The problem is that when you do hourglass model, the idea is not to find one solution. It's to allow for many solutions. So you have to have a framework of thinking where people understand, yes, I'm reusing this, I'm not competing, and here I'm competing, I'm doing something special. We are not here to have one single way of doing it, And this is very important, okay? So this is why we have silos, by the way. So we need to break this silo, but allow for other things. So actually, Javier mentioned, Marino mentioned the fact that I'm not standardizing something. Actually, he was saying, I am technology neutral. So I have here something, data space. Below, you can select any other solutions. And this is what we have to foster. And actually, the Hourglass model doesn't tell you this is a solution. It says, this is a possible solution. Think about it. Do we have a community? And if yes, go ahead. But don't create a silo. That's the thing. So this is a constant exercise. It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. So we need to work on that, okay?
That's very aligned with the open source approach, where you share the basic pillars, and then you share a lot of components, and then you specialize on your added value, and that's what you deliver at the end. But the common components, you share them together with your competitors.
You have common components, and you specialize into further components. That's it. Sometimes you want to compete, so you have component 1, component B, but they are still supported by the high-level components. And that lets the market decide. We're not here to impose the market. We are trying to get into the market. Okay.
So thank you very much. Unfortunately, the time is over. I could stay here another half an hour with you, but thank you very much. And you also have tomorrow. Good luck. I'm sure it will be as great as it's been today. And again, thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you at the event in Brussels, also an event for also more synergies.
Another episode, maybe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.